The January 14, 2019 meeting of the Environment and Public Works Committee will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Baroff. Here. Chairman Brew.
Here.
Mr. Florio is excused. Mr. Flagler-Mitchell.
Here.
Mr. Howland.
Here.
Mr. Mafucci.
Here.
Mr. Wilt.
Here.
President Carbone.
Here.
Is there anyone signed up for the public forum?
There is not.
Is there anyone present who has not signed up to speak who would like to address the committee at this time? Next item on the agenda is approval of minutes. You have the November 26, 2018 minutes of the Environment and Public Works Committee before you. They will stand approved unless the clerk is notified of any changes by the end of the day. The next item on the agenda is new business. Mr. Clerk.
Referral 19-0007.
Move it, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Legislator Wilt, seconded by Legislator Howland. Questions on the floor, Legislator Baroff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to the administration, I know this is an annual submission that we do for, quote, over 30 grant programs. How many submissions did we have last year for these over 30 grant programs?
Through the chair, there were approximately 6 submissions from DES, most of which involved projects at Van Laer, and the other was for Frontier Field.
So approximately 7 in total then, through the chair?
Excuse me, through the chair, 6 total.
6 total. Through the chair of the administration, of these 6 total, how many were successful, and are any of them still outstanding?
Through the chair, in reference to the last question, I have to look, but I think that Director Garland was specifically referring to DES with regards to the applications. Okay, I just want to make clear because there may have been other applications that we have made on behalf of the county for under CFA. Okay.
Through the chair of the administration, do we have a way of finding out how many we may have done beyond just DES?
Through the chair, I'll endeavor to see if I can find out if we've signed on or made other applications, but I don't have that number right now.
But we can probably get it. It shouldn't be too tough.
I hope. Through the chair.
Fingers crossed. All right. Thank you.
Through the chair, I would say, though, I think that the most significant ones that the county generally has been an applicant for has been through DES for helping fund the projects the director's here to talk about.
Legislator Wilt.
Yes, through the chair, how much funding have you received for these funding assistance programs in the last 5 years?
Through the chair, I don't have that information available in terms of a tally of state or federal grants that we've received over the past 5 years. I can say that we were successful in this past year in receiving approval to submit a financing application through the U.S. EPA for the WIFIA program, which is the Water Infrastructure Finance Innovation Act, that will provide low or no interest loans for large capital projects, in particular the Van Laer clarifier and aeration project.
Okay, thank you.
Legislator Flagler-Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the administration, when is this annual application due?
Through the chair, this referral gives us, the county, the authority to submit funding applications for state or federal programs throughout the year when they may come up. The CFA program, which I know you've heard of, is typically due in the summer. Most programs seem to require their submission sometime throughout the summer, generally announced in the fall. This gives us a head start, particularly for some programs that may require legislative authorization to even submit the application. But through the chair, if successful, we would come back to your honorable body to seek approval for any successful grant applications that were awarded.
Okay, thank you. And also through you, Chairman, to the administration, who will write this application? Who does the writing of the applications?
Through the chair, that would be dependent on the department submitting the application. Again, other departments submit grants on a routine basis. In DES, we typically will draft the application ourselves, but we'll seek input from our consultants when and where needed.
And one more question, just to you, to the administration. Who will oversee the projects when they may be awarded?
Through the chair, for the projects that we, in DES that we are submitting, they would be managed through our Division of Engineering and Facilities. And again, any design or construction contracts, grant awards would again come before your honorable body for approval.
Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
Referral 19-0008.
Moved by Legislator Howland, seconded by President Carbone. Is there any discussion? Legislator Baroff.
I know this was a referral subject to a replacement. Am I correct to understand that the only change in the replacement was removing the third floor from consideration in the referral description? Through the chair?
Through the chair, that is correct.
Thank you. Through the chair of the administration, then all the description work is going to be done strictly on the first floor, and the third floor is just added on in error or whatever it might have been, correct?
Through the chair, we've already performed the work on the third floor, so this work is focused solely on the first floor. We will have to access the basement for utility work, but the renovations, the 11,800 square feet of science lab and support space is all on the first floor of Building 7.
Okay. And do we have an anticipated start date through this, through the chair?
Through the chair, we expect to complete it prior to fall semester this year.
Yes. And through the chair of the administration, do we have an anticipated start date?
Oh, through the chair, excuse me, March 2019, this year.
March 2019. Thank you. And then also, through the chair of the administration, it describes putting in security systems. What sort of security systems are we talking about? At the end of the second paragraph.
Through the chair, these would be systems that would be just integrated into MCC's public safety system as needed, whether it's for card access or other security that they require throughout their academic training space.
Okay, fine, thank you. And finally, through the chair of the administration, do we know why UDN Incorporated withdrew their bid?
Through the chair, yes, they submitted a request to withdraw their bid due to a bid mistake. It was reviewed and verified. They did sign a statement attesting to that, and we visually identified that they had indeed made an error that allowed them to formally withdraw their bid.
Okay, thank you very much.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
Referral 19-0009.
Moved by President Carbone, seconded by Legislator Wilt. Is there any discussion? Legislator Baroff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to the administration, when do we anticipate actual construction to begin?
Through the chair, second quarter of 2020.
And through the chair of the administration, do we have an anticipated end date on that as well?
Through the chair, third quarter of 2021.
Thank you very much.
I have a couple questions for the administration. After the decoupling of the boiler plant in Monroe Community Hospital, how many other points of steam service will Iola be providing following that?
Through the chair, there will be no service once decoupled from the Iola facility. This will be a facility that will support the community hospital in 111 Westfall and buildings on that site.
No, I think, let me rephrase my question. Iola plant supplies steam to additional buildings other than MCH, is that correct?
Through the chair, could you please repeat that question?
Iola provides steam to other facilities in addition to MCH, is that correct? I'm thinking MCC and possibly the jail. Don't know.
Through the chair, at one time, utility was provided to the Children's Retention Center as well as to Pure Water's Operations Center of the Rock. They're no longer, obviously, connected. There is service that's generated on site at MCC. Years ago, the powerhouse provided steam and power to MCC. Their facility is on site. The jail is standalone. They receive natural gas and electricity from the utility. So once decoupled, this project will support the community hospital in 111 Westfall.
Okay. So I guess a follow-up question would be then the Iola plant could be permanently mothballed, right, in terms of boiler and steam production?
Through the chair, that property would become available for sale. We would look potentially for reuse of the generators that's county-owned equipment. So if there is salvage value or reuse potential for any of the equipment, the county we will assess that potential as part of this evaluation.
Thank you. Any other questions? Legislator Flagler Mitchell.
Yep, through you to the administration. Who were the other consultants who was considered for this work?
Chair, there were 5 other consultants. Labella was the successful consultant, but Urban Anthony, ME, Barton LaJudas, and Clef Harbor.
Okay, and why was Labella rated the most qualified? Through you, Mr. Chair.
Through the chair, as you may know, there are a number of selection criteria that go into the evaluation process that the consultants are requested to respond through the request for proposals that they receive. Labella scored the highest in all, in aggregate of all the scores that they received for those specific criteria, of which there were 9 criteria.
Okay, thank you. And through you to the administration, when will the preliminary design be completed?
Through the chair, we expect to complete preliminary design in the 3rd quarter of this year.
Okay, and with that being said, through you, Mr. Chairman, when would the actual construction begin?
Through the chair, we expect to bid the project, wrap up design this year, bid it out the first part of 2020, and we would begin work in 2nd quarter of 2020 and wrap that up in 3rd quarter of 2021.
Okay, and just the last question. Has any MWBE contractors ever applied for any of these projects? Through you, Mr. Chairman.
Through the chair, there are MWBE contractors which we expect will participate during construction. Okay. And as you know, the county has a good faith effort for construction. Consultants also retain MWBE firms as well, too.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
Referral 19-0010.
Move it, Mr. Chair.
Moved by Legislator Wilt, seconded by Legislator Holland. Any discussion? Legislator Baroff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to the administration, when will this phase of work begin?
Through the chair, design for the secondary clarifier began in 2018, beginning of the 2nd quarter.
Thank you. And through the chair of the administration, when do you anticipate construction to actually begin?
Through the chair, we expect construction to begin. Through the chair, summer of 2019, and we expect it to be complete in the first quarter of 2020.
Thank you. Through the chair of the administration, is this our first contract with Villager Construction?
Through the chair, no. Villager Construction has done a number of public works projects for the county, both in transportation and with DES. They currently hold 2-term construction contracts with DES and have performed very well.
Thank you. And then finally, I just appreciate a bit of a description about the Phase 1 improvements. And the reason I ask is because it discusses the demolition and replacement of the clarifier mechanism, weirs, troughs, and scum box, which I love that name, by the way, but only in one of the 6 clarifiers. Do we anticipate doing the same for the other 5 clarifiers through the chair?
Through the chair, yes. And the purpose of doing this first clarifier is to fully optimize its performance. And there are a number of improvements that will take place, some of which you mentioned. There's a number of mechanical mechanisms, weirs, troughs, scum boxes, as you mentioned, controls, work within the concrete tank themselves, various baffles and weirs. There's a bridge and a walkway. So there's a number of things around these clarifiers, some of which have been in place since the early 70s, that will be replaced or beyond their useful life. This is one of 6, as you know, and this will give us an opportunity to fully optimize the performance of the clarifier. As you may recall, we conducted a similar project at Northwest Quadrant, so we've learned a lot about clarifiers and their performance, and by doing this first clarifier, we will learn a lot, and we will apply what we learn to the balance of the future projects.
Thank you. So in effect, the first clarifier is going to be, call it, the test, the prototype, whatever, and then whatever is optimized, you're going to repeat for the other 5. And will those other 5 be done at the same time, or would it be a staggered event through the chair?
Through the chair's staggered, phased event.
Okay. And through the chair of the administration, finally, assuming all goes well and funding's consistent and all that good stuff, when do we anticipate all 6 being completed by through the chair?
Through the chair, our schedule shows that they will be completed in 2026.
Okay. Assuming all goes well, I understand that could change.
Yep. Through the chair, we will take them down sequentially only because we need to maintain operation of the
That
plant.
makes sense. Okay. Thank you.
Any further questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, item carries. Next item, please.
Referral 19-0020.
Moved by Legislator Howland, seconded by President Carbone. Questions? Legislator Flagler Mitchell.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. To you, through the administration.
Thank you
No
for the
offense,
promotion.
Dr. Carbone. To you, to the administration. Why was the bid from Stephen General Contractors rejected?
Through the chair, that contractor made a technical error. There was no omission in their bid form, which required the county to reject their bid because they had an incomplete bid.
Okay, thank you. And through you to the administration, what is the timeline for City Place to be purchased and all the renovations to be done?
Through the chair, the county has purchased City Place, which allows us to move forward with these capital improvements. They'll be completed in November of this year.
Beautiful. All right, thank you.
Legislator Wilt.
Yes, through the chair. How much money does Monroe County save on a monthly and annual basis owning this building?
Mr. Chairman, these are just estimated numbers, but on a monthly basis, approximately $70,500. on an annualized basis, approximately $846,000.
Okay, and through the chair, how many businesses does the planning department serve on a weekly, monthly, and annual basis?
Through you, Mr. Chair, our annual is about 300 to 350.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Legislator Baroth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to the administration, the referral estimates that we now need approximately $4.1 million for this project, whereas before it was estimated at $2.4 million, and that there was an estimated increase in the total price. Why is it that there was an increase of $1.7 million? To what is that attributed, through the chair?
Through the chair, the $2.4 million that was included in the original resolution was for unspecified general renovations. This project at the time had not been developed. It has since been developed and designed. So they're really two separate figures, if you will. 2.4, again, for unspecified improvements, and identifying this as a critical need and an important project to advance. We developed the design and an estimate and determined we needed an additional $1.7 million to complete the project.
So essentially, through the chair of the administration, we changed the scope of the parameters for this project. Is that correct, through the chair?
Through the chair, the 2.4 was based on a general estimate for improvements within the building. Again, this was identified as a priority improvement, and the design was developed and bids were received. So this provides what I would say is budget certainty, because we understand what it will actually cost to bid the project.
Thank you. You mentioned the design was developed and the bids were received for the general renovations. Was an additional design developed for the more specific renovations?
Through the chair, I apologize if I misspoke. We did not seek bids for the general improvements. They were not developed. Again, that was an estimate for potential improvements in the building. When we identified this project, we advanced the design and advertise the project for construction bids, which is the subject of this referral.
Thank you. Through the chair of the administration, I recognize this was an unusual timeline. Could you walk me through the timeline from when you developed the generalized estimate of $2.4 million, developed the more specific estimate, and when the proposal actually went out, through the chair? Or request for proposal went out?
Through the chair, apologize for the delay. The general estimate, if you will, for those improvements dated back to the spring of 2017. As you know, there was work done under the space utilization, looking at City Place. This project was, this concept, I believe, was developed in and around 2018, with the design advancing in the third and fourth quarter, project going out to bid in the fourth quarter. So that's a general time frame from securing the original funding to advancing this concept.
Okay, so that I understand correctly, through the Chair of the Administration, essentially, the general estimate model was developed sometime in the spring of 2017, and then the more specific version was developed in terms of design in the third and fourth quarter of 2018, with it going out to bid in the fourth quarter of 2018. That's correct, through the Chair?
Through the chair, that's correct.
Okay. And then finally, is this something that happens rarely, or something that happens more often than we might think, in which we put together a general design proposal and then clarify as new guidance is given from the administration through the chair?
Through the chair, this is a unique project, and it really takes advantage of its location, natural light, and a number of other factors for really a new experience for folks who are engaging with the Planning and Economic Development Department. There's improved access. There's creation of a business center, which is one of a kind in the area, which is open to folks who are not just doing business with Monroe County, but need conference and office space as well, too. So it's intended to create a new experience. It's space that's more accessible for Imagine Monroe, and it moves folks from the 8th floor down to the 1st floor. It involves structural and other interior renovations, and we're taking advantage of its location and space that I would say is not fully utilized or has future plans for full utilization, and it creates this project. Now, based on that estimate in the bids, we have a greater degree of accuracy in terms of the actual cost.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and then finally, as a final follow-up question, did we actually do the design work in-house, or did we put out the bid as well through the chair?
Through the chair, LaBella Associates performed the design.
Thank you. And through the chair of the administration, I assumed, forgive my not remembering, that came through the ledge at some point in time, correct, through the chair?
Through the chair, LaBella performed that work. Initially, the planning work was done as part of the space utilization, but then as it got into more design, we utilized their general architecture and engineering term service agreement.
And through the chair of the administration, do we know what the cost associated with that design work was?
Through the chair, the total value of their effort is approximately $280,000.
Thank you. Through the chair of the administration, that includes just the design work for the revised specific usage of the building, or does that also include the work that was put towards the general space use?
Through the chair, that's work associated with the planning and design of the 1st and 2nd floor project.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
Referral 19-0023.
Moved by President Carbone, seconded by Legislator Wilt. Legislator Flagler Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just through you to the administration. Were there job search done, and was it local or national? Through you, Mr. Chairman.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, no, there was not a job search done. Interim Director Moore has been serving in that capacity since the departure of Director Giardino, and saw the project, the $80 million capital improvement project, through, and upon the completion of that, we wanted to leave him in place until it was completed. Determination was made at that time that, commensurate with his performance in that he was a highly qualified candidate for the job, and an offer was extended.
Okay, thank you.
Legislator Howland.
As the majority caucus representative to the Airport Authority Board, I would like to congratulate the nomination of Director interim director more now and say that I feel the administration could not have made a better choice.
President Carbone.
Yes, through the chair, I'd like to congratulate Mr. Moore on the recent completion of the rock renovation project. The transformation of the airport has truly been impressive. Can Mr. Moore please tell us a little bit about his role in administering the project?
Through the chair, when I look at the airport transformational project or the revitalization efforts, I really think about partnerships and I think about coordination. And I can honestly say that really one person can't take any credit for that. It was a team effort. It started from the top going down. It started from the county executive and her directive for us to put our very best foot forward and make the airport a better place in the future than what it was back then. And then also I think it starts from the county legislature that approved every single time that Mike Giardino, the former director, or myself came before this body and requested approval. We received approval unanimously to the Monroe County Airport Authority Board, where Legislator Calley and Legislator Howland are representatives on that board, and their support for the project and the board in general support. Right on down to the construction teams, to the tenants that had to endure operating a 24/7 airport operation with 54 to 57 flights a day. You have roughly 6 concessionaires. You have car rental companies. You have TSA. You have FBI. You have DEA. You have a parking operation. You have over 100 county employees in the facility. And so everybody really came forward to make this project happen in a very short period of time, which was pretty much less than 2 years to get this done. Excuse me. And so my efforts, certainly when Mike Giardino was the airport director, was to oversee the day-to-day elements of the project. We had a construction management team, LaChase, that helped out with that. Certainly one employee at the airport that deserves a lot of credit is Bill Johnston, our construction manager, who put in a tremendous amount of hours into this project. Gary Gaskin, our airport engineer, Don Crum, our airport attorney, Marianne Feddison, our finance director. As you can imagine, any kind of state funded project. And we were partners with the state. It was about 50% state money, 50% PFC and Monroe County Airport Authority money. There was an astronomical amount of paperwork involved in that, and Marianne deserves a lot of credit for that also. But the entire administration team stepped up themselves, and so my role was just to make sure that things kept moving forward and that we were getting things done and trying to work with our tenants, with the airlines, with the existing concessionaires, with the car rental companies, everybody that works at the airport to keep the airport operation going the best we could with a massive construction project interrupting their daily lives, and trying to make sure that coordination did not impact travelers more than what it needed to be. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd also like to congratulate Mr. Moore on his, number one, the running a successful project over there, and number two, his subsequent appointment as airport director. Having knowledge of the construction industry, there's a couple things here that I saw, when we were in the approval process of the airport that I knew there were going to be challenges. Of course, number one is the time frame. And number two are the unknowns that you embark on an existing facility, because the engineering was fast-tracked. There's no way the engineering can account for every little thing above the ceiling, behind the wall. All of those things have to be dealt with during the construction phase. They have to be dealt with quickly, and there's just, as Andy knows, there's a lot that goes on with the day-to-day changes and questions. It just seems to never end. So With that deadline looming and with my initial walkthrough of the airport earlier last year, I looked at that election date, which I knew was the deadline, and I looked at the state of the airport, and I said, wow, this is really going to take a monumental effort, and it did get done. So again, congratulations to you, Andy, and your team for a job well done.
Through the chair, thank you.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
Referral 19-0024.
Moved by Legislator Wilt, seconded by Legislator Holland. Questions on the floor. Legislator Wilt.
Yes, through the chair. Why is this a matter of importance?
Through the chair, your honorable body just approved the Pure Waters capital budget earlier this month, and we didn't have the capital fund number at the time. So this referral includes that capital fund number.
Okay, thank you.
Legislator Baroth. Legislator Wilt already asked your question.
But it's a great question. I liked it. That's very positive. I wanted to say, way to go. But I had a few other questions, though. So, through the chair of the administration, let me find my question here. Yeah, what is the timeline for this project? Through the chair.
Through the chair, we expect to complete construction by the end of 2022.
Thank you. And through the chair of the administration, if the only reason for this being a matter of importance was a missing budget number, then I'm assuming that the bridge itself is not actually in a state of unsafeness or a matter of concern in and of itself, through the chair.
Through the chair, that is correct.
Okay, thank you. Which is why I asked that question.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Item carries. Are there any other matters to come before the committee? There being no other matters, the January 14th, 2019 meeting of the Environment and Public Works Committee stands adjourned. The next meeting of the Environment and Public Works Committee will be held on Monday, February 25th, 2019 at 5:45 p.m.